All right, we are back here on the fourth episode of the Just in the Suffering podcast. We are getting ready to wrap up week 18, get you set for the NFL playoffs here. Super Wild Card weekend is here. Six games on tap over the 3-day weekend. Joining me today to break it all down, great friend of the podcast, and his team's in the playoffs. Joe D'Alizio is here. Joe, how are you?
Mike, I am doing great, even better that my team is in the playoffs. And here we are. A brand new season is ready to unfold in just a few days.
It's funny too because I remember with I think back in week 17, I had a Viking fan, Joey Castellano, on the podcast, and I said, "Okay, I feel like either you or the Packers being the playoffs, or whichever team wins at that game is probably going to be on the picks on Wild Card Week." So Joe's going to stick around for that. So Joe ended up winning that battle.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, buddy. I'm
Yeah,
glad to be here.
yeah, for sure here. And a little quick reset here because obviously I think week 18. I mean, they pick the right primetime games. The two primetime games are fun. I feel like overall, a little anticlimactic aside from the Jaguars spitting the bit.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest slate in for the final week. And also it made that last game with the Dolphins and Bills a little anticlimactic too, knowing that hey, the Bills are in. Obviously, it was a big game still because the division was on the line, but I don't know. I felt like it's always way more different when a team is fighting for just a position in general, just to get in. So thought it could have been better, but I just can't get over the fact that here we are talking about the playoffs already and how quick. I feel like we have this conversation every single year. The season flies by. I
Oh,
just don't I don't understand it. Every other season kind of lingers. The NFL season just flies.
oh yeah. I think so you combine with the holidays and the end of the calendar year, like everything's sort of like basically once you hit Halloween, it just skyrockets.
Forget it. Yeah. And then you start adding in a Friday game here, Saturday games here, the holiday games, as you mentioned. It's like the season's over. The minute you blink, it's gone.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. You think about it here too. Plus, I do think I mentioned in last week's pick segment with Joe Simone here. With I think the Bills having that knowledge of going into the game that they were already in the playoffs, I think made a big difference to them. Because I feel like if they went in knowing that like if we lose, we're not in the playoffs, I feel like they would have been a lot tighter than they played.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps. Like there's some pressure off your back because really at the end of the day, you got to get in, right? If you get in, it's a brand new season. We've seen teams that sneak in at the end that make a deep run into the postseason, even in and end up winning the Super Bowl. So the fact that they knew probably had them more relaxed, but then still knowing that hey, we have the division up for grabs, and it could really change what the seeding looks like in the AFC, and they did what they had to do.
Yeah, for sure here. And one quick note here. I think like I'll get to them again a little bit here too, but like, is there anybody like who survived the chopping block here who feels let's feel more nervous about his chances next year than Doug Peterson because the way the Jaguars collapsed down the stretch was brutal.
Yeah, that is so bad in so many different levels. And it's funny because at the halfway point, you look at this team and you're starting to think like, okay, they're finally turning it around. They have a quarterback, they have a lot of talent on both sides, and then just to have an epic collapse like that is just inexcusable. Inexcusable. And for him to still have his job, honestly, is very surprising.
I mean, think about this. When they were playing Baltimore on Sunday Night Football, they like week 14, saying, oh, the Jaguars will be the one seed if they win this game. Now they're not even in the playoffs.
It absolutely incredible that they were able to, go in the opposite direction so quickly. But I mean, again, you look at a team like the Dolphins. Dolphins had an incredible opportunity to also be that number one seed at one point, and then they lost some key games. One of them being against the Jags.
Yeah. Yeah, you think about the Jags division also here. They went 1-5 down the stretch. Feels very like 2008 Jets, where like they looked like they were in control. They just collapsed here. And of note here, Trevor Lawrence lost all five of those games. CJ Beathard won the one game. Jacksonville won.
Which is mind-boggling. I mean, what do you think of Trevor Lawrence?
I feel like he's disappointed compared to what we thought he was going to be. Because I mean, I feel
Uh,
like he's fine, but like he's not like generational like we thought he was going to be.
yeah, I think that's fair. I definitely think that's a fair assessment. I think the expectations were much higher, but at the same time, I think a lot of these expectations for these young quarterbacks that come into the league are way higher than they should be. I mean, look at. I mean, I know we're talking NFL playoffs here, but on Monday night we had the national championship game where you had JJ McCarthy and Penix, who people are talking about their first round picks or NFL quarterbacks, and I didn't see that in last night's game whatsoever. So the expectations are definitely much higher for these guys. But someone like Trevor Lawrence, it was supposed to be that next generational talent, and clearly it's not showing.
Yeah, I also did find it fun. I forget who tweeted this one. I have to try and find it offline, get them credit for it. But somebody tweeted during the game last night, said JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix are going to get two NFL GMs fired at some point in the next 3 years.
You know what? It's funny. I saw that this morning, and it's 100% true. Like nothing that they did last night proved, oh my God, this is an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Like nothing whatsoever. And that's besides talking about, other things when evaluating the quarterback position.
Yeah, for sure here. And let's do a little reset here. We'll give the eulogy to the locals as well as their seasons come to an end here, and they have varying degrees of difficulty here. The Jets, obviously, they go 7-10, different way they did last year. They lost 6 earlier, they win 3 of their last 5. We know next year the pressure on everyone in the building to try and come through. No major coaching changes as of now, unless like Oprah could head coaching job. But like we have all this nonsense here. But like even Salah said it, Joe Douglas said it, Aaron Rodgers, when he's not spewing off about Jimmy Kimmel, said it. He basically said, like, hey, if the situation with the Jets is this, it's like we all know we have to win next year. We're all out of here, probably including me.
Yeah, they're all correct. I mean, everybody got a pass this season because Aaron Rodgers got hurt. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Right? Plain and simple. Um, and when it comes to next year for the New York Jets, if they don't succeed, everyone will be gone. Everyone will be gone. From Salah, I could even see Rodgers being gone. I mean, the pressure's on. The pressure's on. They gotta, he's already talking about needing more weapons and wanting more weapons. This is going to be a huge offseason for the New York Jets.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought the more weapons point because I don't know if you saw that on social media today. Apparently, yesterday, Garrett Wilson like got his number back from Thomas Morstead. He gave him number 5. He's number 5 next year. But you take a look here, who liked this tweet before quickly unliking it? One Devontae Adams. So it makes you wonder here. I feel like this is the biggest lock of the offseason here. Devontae will be a Jet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good possibility of that happening. Obviously, Rodgers got what he wanted this past offseason when he said, "Hey, I want you to bring over Cobb and Alan Lazard," and that didn't work out as well as a Devontae Adams will probably work out for that offense. But it's going to be a hefty price to pay to bring Devontae Adams to New York.
Yeah, I think it's a situation where like Devontae basically has to force his way there, basically, and say like I'm only playing for the Jets, like make a deal work here, and then like who knows, maybe it's like I feel and the thing to remember here is that like the Jets are saying their second round pick to Green Bay this year to complete the Rodgers trade, so not gonna give up the number 10 pick for a year of Devontae Adams. So I would think it's probably like a third and then another pick the following year would be my
And
guess.
if they were to do that, that just really solidifies that the Jets are going all in. If that's the case, I could see them trading future picks to get as much talent as possible on both sides of the ball to win a Super Bowl. I mean, that's what that says to me.
The thing with the Jets too, you think about it here is that their needs are so defined in like very specific areas. Like they need a couple of offensive linemen, they need receivers, they need a backup running back, and maybe you get like if Bryce Huff leaves, which would be stupid to let him go, but like if they do, maybe you get like another couple of like another defensive lineman for the rotation. But like I mean, the core of that roster is set. They're basically banking that Rodgers and better lines they get them from 7 wins to double-digit wins.
Well, here's what a lot of people I think need to also understand and realize if they haven't is that the reality of this is without improving that offensive line, it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback.
Yeah.
Like that is a big, and I'm a huge proponent of this, and I probably said it on the podcast. You could have the best quarterback in the league, but if you don't have an offensive line, it's game over. Rodgers does not have the mobility that he once had.
Yeah.
And now coming off a serious injury like he just had, forget about like weapons. Sure, they need weapons, but making sure you have an offensive line is the biggest thing, and not only a starting offensive line, but people to come off the bench in the event of injuries to make sure that hey, we're not going to skip a beat here. Because without it, I'm telling you right now, there will not be the success that many Jet fans are expecting. And by the way, if you haven't learned from this season, you should probably bring in another quarterback, a capable quarterback, to back him up in the event that he does get hurt again, if he does.
Yeah, I think the conspiracy theorists have always been on that, saying that, Woody kind of put his thumb on the scale that Zach Wilson had to be the backup this year because the nepotism reasons, so on and so forth. But like, I feel like that's going to happen. Zach's going to be gone. They're bringing Jacoby Brissett or something. But like, you look at the line. I mean, you put Joe Tippmann at center. I feel like that's a lock. Elijah Vera Tucker is going to be there, but like again, like he's gotten hurt 2 years in a row to end the season early, which has been and the line's collapsed and he's gotten hurt. I know yesterday they're talking about, oh, like we moving in positions, big stress on his list. Like that makes no sense. Like that's just like he's had two freak injuries. What it is.
Yeah, you don't want to hear that. I mean, bottom line is you need offensive line. You need to protect Rodgers, whether it's Rodgers or whether it's Tim Boyle or Zach Wilson or whoever the quarterback is for the New York Jets. They need to make sure that they solidify the offensive line.
Yeah.
And if they don't, they will not have the success that people or that organization is expecting.
Yeah, and it's very important too next year if they actually do something because I mean you have that 2020 class, the trio of stars and Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, and Sauce Gardner. And like we've seen this pattern way too long with the Jets, where like they find these promising young players, they don't win with them, they get frustrated, they want out, they go somewhere else and win. So you don't want that cycle starting again.
No, you definitely don't. You definitely don't. And um, again, it all rides on the shoulders of Aaron Rodgers. They went all in on this guy, bringing him in, saying he's going to be the savior of the franchise. And really, it's his franchise already. Like he makes the rules. He wants something, and the Jets are going to do what they can to go out and get it. I laugh in the background because I see the irony. I saw the end of Rodgers in Green Bay. We need more weapons. We need more weapons. We need more weapons. And just a short period of time of being in New York without even playing. Oh, we need more weapons. We need more weapons. And then you look at what the Green Bay Packers just did this season with the youngest offense in the league and a bunch of no names, really. All right. I think we could say that a bunch of no names to make the playoffs and turn the season around like they did in the second half. Would you be if Rodgers was still there, would he be crying for weapons?
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know. So, again, it's for Rodgers, it's another year. He's older. It's not going to get any easier for him.
Yeah. One final thing before we move on to the Jets here. Over under 2.5 former Packers joined the Jets this season.
Over under 2.5 former. I'm going to go over. Yeah, I'm going to go over because I could see a scenario where David Bakhtiari ends up with the Jets. And I could also see Devontae Adams being traded, and that's two right off the bat easily. And then somebody else will find their way there.
I think I agree with that. I think Bakhtiari will be the right tackle. The Jets, I feel like they're gonna get draft have Carter Warren backstop a guy like that for right tackle. And I think also AJ Dillon's a free agent. Aaron Jones might get cut, so I could see one of those two winding up filling the Dalvin Cook spot at the backup running back of the Jets.
I'll tell you right now, I think it's very unlikely that Aaron Jones leaves the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, so AJ Dillon might be a Jet then if they're gonna do that.
I don't know, obviously, but I think when you look at both of those running backs, the success of the Green Bay Packers this season with a healthy Aaron Jones compared to a healthy AJ Dillon, the offense is 9-day difference.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I really think that they'll do everything they can to make sure Aaron Jones is going to stay in the building and stay for a while for how important he is. And I could see them moving on from an AJ Dillon.
Yeah, and that would mean he'd be the backup behind Brees Hall at the Jets if Rodgers recruits him. So,
well, if that's the case, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's go to the Giants side here now. They finished strong. They win 4 of their last 7 games. They heard their draft and dropped to 6 in the draft, which is going to impact them to get a quarterback here. I think the thing that's worth monitoring here for the Giants is 2 fronts. Number one, that the offense looked much more functional without Daniel Jones and center, which is a problem when you gave him that much money. And number two, the whole Wade Martindale saga where we have this will he, won't he thing is going on the whole year. Dable says he's back. We get reports, I think 3 hours later, that Wake's resigning here. What do you think about the Giants situation?
Yeah, I think internally it's a whole mess with the head coach and the defensive coordinator situation. I think losing a defensive coordinator like Wink would be huge for the Giants.
Yeah.
It'd be a devastating loss to lose that guy in the building. But more importantly, as you alluded to, what is going on with the quarterback position? Like you inherited Daniel Jones, new coach, new GM here. You got to make a decision now. Is Daniel Jones your guy, or are you going into this draft trying to find that next guy or the guy that you believe in? But they got to figure it out because they are not a better team with Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
It's plain and simple. I mean, they also you got to take a very deep look at the injury history.
yeah.
I mean, Daniel Jones has suffered some serious injuries, and when you're messing with the head and the neck, like you got to really be careful with that.
Yeah.
And not only for him, for his sake and his future safety and future health, but also for the organization. They got to figure it out. They got to figure out, is he our guy, or is it time for us to go get our guy? Because I don't think Daniel Jones is it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And the thing is frustrating too for them is like yes, you played hard down the stretch, you won 4 games, but like now you're sitting here at 6 in the draft where like maybe there's a consensus top two, maybe top three, depending on how you feel about Jaden Daniels in the draft here. And like, Washington's a quarterback at 2. The Bears have that number 1 pick like up for sale here. And like we saw last year how expensive it can get to get up that high. So you're the Giants here. Do you want to pay that price? Do you hope that New England is willing to move off of 3 and you get like maybe you're the third choice here? Like, what do you do if you like a quarterback here?
Well, here's the thing: you got to like that guy. You got to be sold on that guy because a trade like that is going to define you as a general manager,
Yeah.
right? So, like, if you think Drake May is that guy or Caleb Williams is that guy, then you do what you need to do if that pick is available to get up and get your guy, like 100%. Um, I think it's a difficult. Obviously, it's a difficult call because the price tag is going to be really high. But it also you bring in an interesting point. With Chicago, are they done with Fields?
Yeah.
Because if they're done with Fields, then obviously they're going to use that pick and take a guy. They're going to take maybe Caleb Williams or whoever they think is the best quarterback because they're going to need one. But if they're not done with him, then the price of that pick is just it's going to be sky high. And if you thought the Panthers paid a lot, forget it.
Yeah, he's now you have a lot more teams in the hunt for that pick too. Besides the Giants, New England might be in the hunt for that pick. Atlanta, like the Raiders, there's a lot of teams that could go calling on the Bears.
Without a doubt. So just going back to the Giants and what they should do, if they think that their guy is there, they should go get that guy. They should go get that guy. I don't think you should settle getting the third best guy when hey, there's somebody that I want. What is the third best person going to do for you when that's the one you want?
Yeah. And I think like the also think makes it complicated here. The Panthers paid that ransom last year. They still might have gotten it wrong.
Oh, you're right. You're right. But also, there's a lot of other issues in Carolina that, maybe a little bit of a better supporting cast, including coaching, and just talent overall, could change that.
Yeah, that's true here. Let's go to the coaching front. You just mentioned it here. Right now, we have 5 confirmed openings here. We have the 3 teams with fire coaches in season: the Panthers, the Raiders, the Chargers. Atlanta fires Arthur Smith. The Commanders get rid of Ron Rivera. As of recording time, Belichick is still in New England, but like the tea leaves seem to stink that he is going to part ways with them and somewhere else here. So 2 things here. Number one, if New England comes open, which of these 6 jobs do you think is the most attractive?
I would probably say Washington. All right. And even though like there's so many missing pieces, but what excites me about Washington is their recent hire, Bob Myers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did it in the NBA. The NBA is the NFL, but there's something about having that winning mentality and being a winner, and I think he defines that. Um, and he's a guy that will go all out to make sure that this team is well positioned. And it may not be right away, but this Washington team could be a very different team 2 to 3 years from now.
Yeah. I would agree with you because I do feel like here that like not only that you don't have Snyder anymore, so you have a new owner, so you have like a grace period, try and like build a program with him. Plus, you have the number 2 pick, so you can get a quarterback if you want.
Correct. Like there's a lot of good there's a lot of things pointing in the right direction that is like it's turning the page from all the nonsense that we're used to with the Commanders, right? To what could be a really bright future with just a brand new start, a clean slate. Here we go. Let's see what we could do.
Okay, that's question one here. Question two with Belichick here, obviously, is like if he goes, he's gonna get hired somewhere else because he said he still wants to coach. It feels like Mara, the Patriots, could say, okay, pick your spot. We'll like trade you there, and we'll get like a pick back for you. Like where do you think Bill would want to go? I feel like Bill has his choice on the board here. I think if I'm Bill, I prioritize that somewhere with a quarterback. I'm not gonna go to this Mac Jones and shenanigans again.
Well, that's the thing. Like you gotta want to go someplace where there's a quarterback, which, out of the teams that have an opening, I guess you would say LA, right? The Chargers have the best quarterback out of all the teams that have coaching vacancies, but I don't know if he goes out west. I mean, I could see him staying on the East Coast, staying and going to the NFC in some capacity. I think Washington is a very interesting landing spot for him, especially with new ownership, a new general manager in the building. I know they don't have a quarterback, but with that, as we just talked about, maybe they draft their new guy, and hey, we start there. Another place where I think it could be super interesting for Bill Belichick would be the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that, yeah, you're not sure what they have in their young quarterback, but I think he has the ability to have the most control in that situation with obviously no coach, GM out the door as well. Um, it could be his entire team. That could be a power play where he's able to leverage, hey, I'm Bill Belichick and I want control. And that may be best for him. I don't know if that's best for the Carolina organization, but that's what I think may happen with when it comes to Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I think Bill, if I'm Bill, I'm staying away from Carolinas. I want no part of that owner because that owner seems to be getting in the way of everything. And I think even if I get promised power, I can't guarantee I'll keep it here. I think one sleeper here, though, the job's not open yet. If Dallas flames out in the playoffs again, I could definitely see Jerry giving New England a phone call saying, hey, what would it take to get Bill over here?
Well, that would definitely be very interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't. I'll be honest, Mike. I didn't even think about that, but that would be extremely interesting. Um, I'm not sure what that relationship between Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick is like, slash what it would be. That does concern me a tad bit, but that is very interesting. Wow.
Yeah, that's also like one where like you're Bill, you have a ready-made team, you have a quarterback, you have players on offense, you have a great defense here. Like you want to win. There's not many better choices to go than Dallas.
Yeah, you could definitely make it work there for sure.
Yeah. All right, here. So let's now we got that done here. Let's get to some of these wild card matches. We'll go around the league real quick each game here. We'll go chronologically here. Browns Texans on Saturday afternoon here. And what are your thoughts on this game?
Uh, I think CJ Stroud and Houston just in general have had such a huge turnaround, and kudos to them. Um, but I like the Browns in this one a lot. I like the Browns a lot in this game, specifically because of their defense. I think it'll cause Houston a lot of difficulties, especially for a rookie quarterback. Also, what I like about the Browns is just their resilience and their resiliency all season. I mean, this is a team that's been banged up in almost, it feels like every single major position, losing major guys. But they've somehow figured out a way. And I really like this matchup for the Browns, and I think we see a Browns playoff victory, something we haven't seen in a while.
I mean, they did get one in 2020, but still, relative to that.
I mean, relative to it, though, I mean, like I know it's only been 4 years since their last one, but I mean, it's very rare that we're talking about the Browns winning a playoff game. Put it to you
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, and I do think we saw this match a couple weeks ago in Houston. Cleveland won 36-22. I think we see with CJ Stroud a bit this year when he plays those elite defenses, he has problems. I can see the same thing happening here.
Yeah, I definitely, and like again, this is no disrespect to CJ Stroud because he had a hell of a season, and for essentially the Texans from going, number one pick to the playoffs. I mean, they got it right. They did it right. Um, But I think this matchup defensively is going to be very tough for Stroud and company.
Yep. Next on the board here, Chiefs Dolphins. Miami gets here after losing the AFC's title game. It's on Saturday night. It's on Peacock exclusively. So I know there's been a lot of outrage on the internet about this here, and like this feels like inevitable because the NFL is trying to push themselves into streaming. They're trying to do a money grab here. NBC probably said, "Hey, give us a good game for this, please, so that we can get subscribers here." And like, it's just ridiculous that like I get what you're doing with the Amazon Prime package. I get what you're doing with the Peacock game we had in December, trying to keep on the service here, but like they basically sold out a bunch of fans and a potential great rating of this game for 110 million bucks.
Let me tell you something. I'm in the majority that hates the fact that this is going to be Peacock only. But the reality is this is the future of watching. I mean, that's the only thing I could really say. Like, this is the future of how we are going to watch, and people are going to have to watch just anything down the road. Like, I hate, again, that doesn't change my opinion. I still hate it, especially because it's going to be such a great game. And of course, that's the one game. But, you know, for those of you for the people that don't have Peacock, they're probably going to get in and watch it. And if not, they're going to go out somewhere to watch it in some capacity. Uh, but again, I go back to this is the future of consuming media is through these streaming platforms. So I hate it. I get it though. With that being said, I like the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I like the Chiefs. I think Miami lost a huge opportunity. Obviously losing in the final week of the regular season, and now to have to travel to play at Arrowhead. It's going to be cold. You're not getting a lot out of Tua as of late. It's like, and this is not saying the Chiefs are playing that much better because they have had their struggles all season long, but you can't knock out Patrick Mahomes so quickly. So I give them the benefit of the doubt here, and I like the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think one thing I'm also curious about this game here too is obviously we get the Tyreek Hill return to Kansas City angle. We didn't get it earlier this year because they were playing that game in Germany for some stupid reason, but now we get that in a primetime spot in the playoffs. He's freezing in Kansas City, and we know it's the Chief receiving core stunk this year. So we just see if he'll come up a big spot against his former team.
Yeah, I mean, he has to put up a big spot if Miami's going to keep this close. I mean, they're probably going to rely on their run game, which has been strong all season long. But when push comes to shove, if you give me the option of Patrick Mahomes to win me a game or Tua, I'm going Patrick Mahomes.
Yep. Let's now go to the Sunday afternoon game here, 1 o'clock here. Probably gonna miss most of these. I'll be working at Iona for that window here. Steelers, Bills. To be fair, I'm not regretting missing that game because that game screams blowout to me.
Yeah, you know what? It screams blowout, but we've seen so much inconsistency from the Bills. I think the Bills are going to win, right?
Yeah.
I definitely think the Bills are going to win. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than we expect. I think, obviously the TJ Watt injury is a massive one for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So depending on what his status is going to be, has he been ruled out?
I do not know yet. I have to check the reports.
So I'm not sure if he has been ruled out, but with that being said, I think Mike Tomlin is going to coach or have his team prepared for a defensive battle. So I could see this game being a lot closer, but still the Bills going through and advancing.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with me, I also feel like with this game is that the Steelers are the most fraudulent team in the playoffs this year. They have been outscored this season by 20 points, which tells you all you need to know. Every other team is at least like plus like 20 in point margin. They're minus 20. I think they've gotten like four, or at least four of the wins against backup quarterbacks. And you look at also here, like this team in back-to-back weeks in December lost to Arizona and New England at home because they're starting Mason Rudolph in a playoff game here. I mean, like, this is what expanded playoffs gets you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not saying that I think the Steelers could win this game, but I think defensively, here's a coach at Mike Tomlin that somehow, some way has been able to keep his team at 500 and above um, for years now, right? If there's anyone that could kind of figure it out and game plan to be in a good position despite having a subpar season, I think it's the Steelers here. Again, I think the Bills win, but I think it'll be much closer than what the numbers are saying.
Yeah, in my opinion, the only way the Steelers win is the Bills beat themselves.
Yeah, yeah. You're telling me you can't see Josh Allen throwing a couple of red zone interceptions, something that he's been doing consistently his entire career. We just saw him do it again on Sunday.
I can see throwing interception. I don't think the Steelers have enough firepower to take advantage of it, though.
No, maybe not, but in the playoffs, I mean, it's all about capitalizing on opportunities.
Yeah, and
You can't leave points on the board.
and Buffalo's a better running team they were last year. Also, I think helps considering the games in Orchard Park.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. Again, I will go back and say I think the Bills do win. I just don't think it's the blowout that everyone thinks is going to happen.
All right, here the game that we are all invested in, especially on your end here. Packers Cowboys 440 on Sunday here. Your takeaway on this game?
Man, I'm so excited. I'm just excited that the Packers are in the postseason. To be honest with you, I know you had me in on the beginning of the season, and you asked me what I thought about Jordan Love, and I kind of went like this, right? Like I didn't know what to expect. You saw him start off really well, and then you saw the middle of the season really go in so many different directions, but towards the bad end, where you said, "Man, Jordan Love doesn't look great," and then all of a sudden things started to click. And once that started, I mean, statistically, he's had one of the best seasons in franchise history for a guy that in his first year as a starter. You saw the numbers compared to Brett Favre. You saw the numbers compared to Aaron Rodgers. It gets you excited. And for a team like Green Bay, that's typically in the Cowboys position, right? A team that's always winning the division and a top 3 seed. You're in a unique situation here where it's house money. I think the pressure isn't on Green Bay at all when it comes to the NFC at this point.
Yeah,
I think if they go out there, they play their style and they execute, this is a young team. It's inevitable. They will make mistakes, but I think there is a lot of potential for this to be a close game and possibly for Green Bay to sneak it out. Listen, if there's anyone that's seen McCarthy lose a bunch of playoff games in Green Bay, it's me.
yep.
You know, uh, you can't doubt the Dallas Cowboys. They've had an incredible year. They've played incredible football at home, but you could argue that their schedule hasn't been the hardest. Um, and there are opportunities. I'll keep saying this, as cliche as it sounds. It's a brand new season. It's a brand new season. So if Jordan Love goes into Jerry's world and pulls off the upset, I wouldn't be surprised. At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if Dak just puts on a show and carves through Joe Barry's defense, right? But the fact that Green Bay is in this position, um, it definitely has Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst smiling ear to ear the way things ended with Rodgers, and quite frankly, it sets up for a really bright future for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I mean Jordan Love finished what like an 18-1 touchdown interception ratio over the second half of the season.
Yeah, and not for nothing, there were a couple games where he had multiple interceptions,
Yeah.
like 3. So he really turned it around. He really turned it around because at a period of time, I really thought, yikes, I don't know what we have. Maybe it's the first year jitters of playing a lot of football, but again, it just clicked. And you look at the receiving core, the skill position players, they're all so young. It's hard not to be excited.
Yeah, I also love here I also think the thing you worry about here as a Green Bay fan is that the defense, as you mentioned, has been very shaky down the stretch here, and it's very questionable here. But like, I like the fact you have playing with house money. I think that's very helpful here. I think all the pressure's on Dallas. Now when they won the division and that we have a chance to get 2 home playoff games. Maybe the 49ers get picked off somewhere. We're hosting the NFC Championship game here. There's a lot of weight on those shoulders over there.
There's a ton of weight, and there's a ton of weight on Mike McCarthy's shoulders trying to beat the Green Bay Packers.
Yep.
The other big concern outside of the defense for the Packers, special teams.
Yeah.
Special teams. With their rookie kicker, I mean, I'll be on pins and needles if it comes down to him having to kick, a 45-yard field goal to win the game. That's going to be a huge outcome in special teams and how the kicking, and most importantly, if they're disciplined. This is a team that all season long has struggled with penalties on both sides of the ball. As a young team, you can't make those mental mistakes. And that's an area that does concern me going up against an older, more experienced Dallas Cowboys team.
Yeah, and also think about this for a second here too. I mean, like the whole like Brandon Aubrey thing, how ridiculous he's been this year in terms of like making all his kicks and whatnot. I think he made like his first 36 field goals here. Like, imagine like the NFL script writers here have this scenario came out here where it comes down to a Brandon Aubrey kick, like the Packers up by like a point to win the game, he misses.
Hey, sign me up.
All right, let's go on now to the next game here on the board here. NFL scriptwriters had a fun one this week with the match that got here. We got Rams Lions Sunday night, and Matthew Stafford makes his return to Detroit in a playoff game after all these years trying to get the Lions to host the game at Ford Field. Now he's the visiting player there.
Unbelievable storylines. You gotta love it. You really gotta love it. Um, I love Dan Campbell. As a Packers fan, it's hard to say like, yeah, I'm not rooting for the Lions, but uh, they've been great. They've been great. And I'm excited for that fan base because they really deserve it. They've had it rough. Uh, I think this is going to be a great game. On the opposite side for the Rams, what they do in the NFL draft has been absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Right. And like they bring over Stafford, they add pieces, they win a Super Bowl. They don't have a lot of picks. You have the dominance that they've been having with their fifth round picks in recent years with Kyron Williams and then Puka. It's like it's absolutely insane what they've been able to do on the backside and behind the scenes in building such a great team that it's hard to root against such a well-run organization, honestly.
Yeah. I think the
And
thing,
I think it's really hard to really pick who comes out of this one. I think the home field advantage uh, helps, but I think this is a coin toss. Really, I think this is going to be a lot closer than what the numbers say right now.
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun that game for sure here. I do think, obviously, also the one thing to keep an eye on with the Lions is kickers. Obviously, they've lost Sam Laporte to an injury in the last game of the season here, and they have to figure out how to fill that hole. He was basically their number two receiver by Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, huge loss if he can't play. Huge loss. And the Rams have talent. The Rams have talent, and Goff has been able to resurrect his career in that Sean McVay's offense.
Yeah. All right. Last game of the weekend before we get to the pick segment here. We have the Bucks and the Eagles on Monday night here. The second straight year, the Bucks also get AFC East here on Monday night here. And storyline of this game really is just the collapse of the Eagles here. Because I mean, this team looked like they beat Kansas City, they beat Buffalo back to back. Like, oh, like they're gonna stampede the Super Bowl. They go 1-5 down the stretch. They lose the division to the Cowboys, and they go on the road, and their defense is giving up like buckets of points to the Cardinals and Giants last 2 weeks. Things are not good in Philly.
Things are not good in Philly. And what I stated earlier in the podcast that, hey, if you're playing the right football, you get into the postseason, anything can happen. I think the same thing applies for the opposite. That you get into the playoffs, you're playing poorly, it's going to continue to happen. Now, I get it's a new season and you can turn it around quickly, but especially now with Hurts being injured, that middle finger injury, you don't know how it will impact him. I don't think the Bucks are a great team. I think we could agree on that, but I could easily see this spiral, finish spiraling out of control and be in favor of Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Tampa Bay has not been bad this year. They haven't been great, but I mean, they did finish the winning record this year. Baker had a great year, and the Eagles defense is a sieve. I could see Baker hitting some big plays and Mike Evans and what do you call it? And the rest of his skill possession guys.
You only need one play. That's
Yep.
all you need.